Superannuation is every Australian's most important investment. The decisions you make now can have a large impact on when you can afford to retire and the lifestyle you'll enjoy when you do. There are so many companies to pick from for your super, but did you know that you can also manage it yourself? Edge Financial Services can help you take control of your super and plan for retirement with a self-managed super fund. There are many different ways for you to invest in your future. To find out more about investment strategies that will give you the edge in retirement, visit edge.net.au today.
Hey everyone, Scott from Edge Specialist Advice Network. I hope you're well. Hey, today we've got another installment of what the numbers say, and we're using it visual capitalist again. This time I want to have a chat about basically the 3 years of what's happened with this Russian special military operation and what's particularly happened in the Russian oil market. And we want to have a look back and go, hey, did all the things that the US government and the West, the EU and things, all those sanctions that they put on to the Russian economy, I think there was like about 25, 30 packages. Eventually, there was only two things that were really, I guess, could have been detrimental to the Russian economy. One was the sanctioning of oil, because Russia makes so much money out of oil. The other one was the $300 billion of Russian government holding US debt, US Treasury debt, and the US said, basically, we're going to default. We're not going to pay you back because we don't think you're the type of person we're repaying our debts to. $300 billion. We're going to freeze them, and there's always interest you're supposed to get. We might pay the interest on an account. We're not going to give it to you. So, which is lucky because we're running out of money. We're really going to struggle to pay that. But because you rolled across the border, we're going to sanction us not paying you what we owe you. We know you lend us $300 billion effectively, but you're a bad guy. We're not going to repay our debts. And so that was actually the end of the US dollar system. That was the first. That was the firing of the starting gun. I think, but that's it. That's for a different video. Let's have a look at what has happened to the Russian oil supply, and for the last 3 years during the Russian special military operation in Ukraine. So you can see here on the left, this is in January 2022. If you remember, Russia rolled across the border. I think it was mid-February 2022. Now, from basically March 2020 to February 2022, those 2 years, those full 2 years, every single day on the news, all day, all night, was all of the COVID scamdemic, the big flu panic, effectively, and it was just on all the time, programming. You couldn't get away from it. That's all everyone talked about. That was what it was. The day that Russia rolled across the border, it stopped, like it never happened. Like there was something new to catch your attention, something more important globally that we want you now to direct your attention to. The people that had the COVID stuff down pat, that had their time, they made as much benefit out of it as they could, and now they had something new for everyone to focus on. And so you saw on Facebook, people's, hey, you can thank me later, I got a jab, or trust the science, or people had pictures of Fauci on their Facebook. As for their little logo on Facebook, they all got removed, and it was yellow and white flags. I stand with the Zelensky's. Zelensky's an amazing guy, all this sort of stuff. So it was like, it all happened in one day. It was incredible. Anyway, that's the marker in the sand. That's the timeline we're talking about from basically then, February 22, to last month, March 2025. So in that 3 years of those heavy sanctions that were going to cripple Russia and bring their economy to tatters, what has happened? And this is the thing about the market. The market. If you remove a buyer or a seller from the market, someone comes in to take their place. So it was just ridiculous. And at the end of the day, the governments do have quite intelligent people, and they knew that. And part of me just thinks that this was a way to actually destroy Europe, to basically deindustrialize Europe, to make Europe have energy prices that were between 4 and 10 times what they're used to paying. Manufacturing collapsed. German car manufacturers had to move. Where did they move to? Mexico or the US. So they moved over to the US hemisphere, the Western hemisphere. So such an own goal. And for people who were already semi-intelligent, I wonder if this was one of the added benefits. The West went, you know what? The EU is so stupid, or maybe not. Maybe they were collapsing their own economy to gain more power. But they knew this wasn't going to work. Because look what happened. So the the EU used to buy most of the Russian oil, and China was the second biggest. Then you had all these other little guys: Turkey, South Korea, UK, US, India, right? So what's happened is they put the big sanctions on. The EU said, "Nah, we're not gonna buy Russian oil." At first, they said, "Oh, we're going to cap our prices. We're going to buy some Russian oil, but not over $60 a barrel. Even if the world price is 80, we're only going to pay 60, and that's it." And the world price of oil sank anyway, right? So it wasn't this like cut off the day we finished Russian oil. Look, you can see this progression. It's basically took 18 months before it got down anywhere, any sort of decent reduction. But all these other countries filled the gap. Turkey came in and took a large position, and Turkey was on selling the oil to the EU anyway, rebadging it, mixing it in with some other oil, mixing it up. So basically shipped it again, pulling off the Russian label, relabeling it as Turkey oil or whatever, and reselling it. And the EU knew that was happening, and they knew it was costing them more than $60 a barrel. But for the moral standpoint that they could prove that they're doing the right thing while they sent all their soldiers in to die in Ukraine, that made sense for them. But you can see China really picked up the slack here. So the positioning or the coming together of Russia and China, which is the West's biggest own goal ever, and will never be undone, started with low cost, obviously not started with, but cemented together, and it was assisted by this low cost energy. Because great powers need low cost energy, and you can't be a great power without low cost energy. You can't do all the crazy AI stuff, high level military, high level manufacturing, space tech. You can't do that with green energy. You have to do that with cheap oil, coal, and gas. And you can see that India, right at the right time, India has just stepped right into the breach here and has taken over a large position as well. So the EU no longer has cheap energy. Boo-hoo, suckers, idiots. It is them. China and India, who are the two largest countries by population, are just soaking up all this oil from Russia. So Russia's not really affected. I mean, you look at if this is the total volume here, all the way down to the bottom. We're only missing this little section at the top here, and I don't think Russia's really giving two rats about that at all. Their economy is amazing. They have basically zero debt. They've got the strongest currency. The ruble has been the best performing currency for the last couple of years. Their economy is just on fire. So I really don't think they care. I really don't think they care at all. But this was an example of, hey, you can't tamper with markets, and especially markets that are as important as energy. You just can't with a stroke of a pen and about 4 months worth of heavy Facebook, TikTok, and whatever propaganda, and Channel 9 propaganda, and MSNBC, NBC, CBC, and all the billions of dollars you're going to spend on propaganda. It doesn't work. The market still finds its own way. People still want cheap energy, and they will buy cheap energy over any moralistic compass that you try and force down their throat. So, Australian politicians, please take note. Cheap energy, you cannot be any sort of thriving anything without cheap energy. This ridiculous green scam that you guys are still going along with, but the other countries have been forced to actually admit it's a scam and drop it. But you guys are still hanging in there. You didn't get the memo. You're like that Japanese soldier dropped on the island, at World War II. And in 1980 they found him, but he was still firing at boats because he thought the World War II was still going on. That's you, Australia. That's you, Australian government, with your ridiculous energy policies. You're not going to be happy until we're all living in caves again. So anyway, guys, look, just an example of a couple of things to take away here from here. The West forced Russia and China together, and the energy didn't affect Russia at all. In fact, it made them super strong. It made China super strong. It made India super strong. They also got cheap oil as well, and they will rue the day that happened. This is also a reminder of the areas of the world where we should be starting to invest more money, because these are the areas that are going to the trajectory, as they have cheap energy, of manufacturing and technology and all of the things, and they've got those good population bases that are just leaving the West for dead. As the West is like this and these countries are like this, then you can have a long-term view and know that if you're in those sectors, that you will be. So as you're finding a lot of turmoil and volatility in Western countries and Western stock markets, these are the things that are going to outperform. And we're going to have a chat about that later on. All right, guys, look, that's enough from me. Remember, life is a family sport. Give yours an edge. See ya.
John's home-based tradie business has outgrown his garage. With work starting to pick up, John wants to take on an apprentice, upgrade the work ute and move to an industrial shed. It was hard for John to get a loan because he has inconsistent income. John sought Toowoomba's Edge Lending, the business lending experts. Edge Lending was able to secure a loan to help grow his business by tapping into the equity in his home. Edge Lending Solutions, helping small businesses to grow.